We're so excited. I'm here in Key West. I found a parking place and I am ready to head over to the terminal to get on the ferry to catch a ride to the Dry Tortugas. Let's go. We're here at the Key West Bight Ferry Terminal, Flagler Station, 100 Grinnell Street. This is where you can get on the ferry and head to the Dry Tortugas. I think it's a little bit too early for me, but it's worth it. Let's head up to the ferry and check on in. So if we're here early, we can sit and watch the sunrise and look at the boats. So this is my friend Cheryl, and she came down here with me. She's on standby, so we're excited to see how that works and see if she gets on board. I'm getting on. We're going. We'll load and board the boat ramp right here into the ferry. We should be leaving pretty soon. It's supposed to be a bumpy ride, but we're going to keep an eye out and see if we find any little things outside.
Right the sea road, right into the harbor to really right past the decks of other boats without ever setting foot on the land.
But guess what? Cheryl made some people canceled at the last minute, and I got on.
That big boat. It's almost like a ship.
A little over 2 hours. We're excited.
If you get lost in there, just pay attention and look for that flag.
Come on, Frank.
Today we're going to take you up through Fort Jefferson, the Dry Tortugas National Park, and take you through the Sally Port. So you might think it's a long time to be on the island, but this time flies by. So make a list of what you want to do so you can get it all done before it's time to load back up on that ferry. The moat surrounds Fort Jefferson was actually their waste management system, right? And they would pour in their sewage in hopes that the tide would rush in and take it away, but the tide here is very low, so it didn't work out. Yep, 12 inches. So it didn't come in, it didn't take the sewage, so they had a bunch of nasty running around their fort. So this is the Sally Port. It's the only way in and your only way out of the fort. Bees would love this. Little city inside this little 8-acre area with soldiers' barracks and officers' quarters with their wives were here. So this lighthouse is under restoration, but I love watching everybody walk at the top of the fort.
Oh yeah, these are gun rooms. 303. In these gun rooms, they would have Columbiad cannons, 8 and 10 inch Columbiad cannons, shooting 65 pound and 135 pound cannonballs. Under these smoothbore cannons, they can fire these cannonballs from 3 miles out in distance. Shooting at one of their targets, little sailboats, little wooden sailboats. I'm a sailor. Even with my modern sailboat, I promise you, sailboat cannot change its course, reset its rigging, and get out of the way of a cannonball. You are a sitting duck out there. These cannonballs were pretty impressive. It wasn't just cannonballs. They had grape shot, they had chain shot, they had some pretty darn mean artillery. These Columbiad cannons, they did not sit directly on these stone forts, but they would actually be on carriages. That carriage would allow the cannons to be moved around. And more importantly, that cannon carriage would have a trailer hitch on the front of it. These windows, by the way, they're called embrasures. That means cannon shooting windows.
So that would make it easier. They would put them on the track and make it easier to pull back and forth the cannons, right? To be able to aim and shoot. Very cool.
It's kind of dark in here. These windows are people trying to watch your movie.
Or a car. I couldn't even imagine crossing over in one of these. Where you can pull it open and close. I can't reach it. But it's still right there.
Isn't that cool? Here's a little 400 cannons.
See, it might be blown out. It's too. There's our boat. Our ferry, our catamaran. The water collection system.
5 million gallons of rainwater.
They collected all the rainwater. It comes all the way down from the very top. And
This port settled up to 12
after it clicks it on the
places. And when it did,
collection container at the bottom.
We're outside checking out the paddle room and the cannons that have cannon areas that have been rebuilt or preserved. Yes, these have been preserved and then move the cannons across them to shoot out those little windows. Huge. Look at how long it goes down there. Fort Jefferson is huge. It's fun just exploring through here.
It's like 3 layers.
So in the Fort Bakery, it was known that the bread was made out of bugs, dirt, sticks. Ooh, the dogs didn't even want it. So these poor guys and girls didn't have really good food here at the fort.
they basically put these poor dudes in a giant pizza oven. They didn't have enough food, they didn't have enough water, they were always too hot in their wool uniforms, and yellow fever started spreading through the islands. It got so bad they had to build a hospital on the next island over to quarantine these soldiers. It got so bad they had to send all the doctors there, and it got so much worse, all the doctors ended up dying. They ran out of doctors here while everybody was sick. Up the Straits of Florida, through the Gulf Stream. That is dangerous business. These people risked their life. The deepest part of our journey was where the boat bounced the most. That was only 50 feet. There's a spiral staircase. It's very dark. Take off your sunglasses, watch your footing, and also pay attention to the stairs. They spiral up in a clockwise manner. That's a defensive move. Most of the people in this world are right-handed. You cannot aim a rifle around a corner to the right going up a flight of stairs. It just doesn't work. But if you're upstairs defending the high ground, you see the first little bit of them come around the corner. Pow! They're a sitting duck. The stairs are wider on the outside. That's how circles work.
And looking out these windows that are gorgeous.
With the wind blowing in this direction, it is silty and full of weeds. I personally would swim at the South Beach today if the water wasn't freezing cold to me.
This fort is amazing. So rustic, beautiful, so much heritage.
This thing was basically like a giant dispenser for cannonballs. There was an opening in the back. You fill it up with cannonballs. They'd all roll down the rails up from that opening in the front. You could take one out of the front, and all the rest of them would roll right up in place of it. Easy access for cannonballs. But wait, it's got a giant chimney on it. This thing is called the hot shot furnace. They build a giant fire underneath those cannonballs and keep those suckers up glowing red hot. When these cannonballs were superheated, they could load them into a cannon with some wet wadding, of course, and would explode things. They'd load them in a cannon, and they wouldn't fire them up at a big arc. They weren't going for distance. They'd fire them parallel to the water line. They'd fire them horizontal. These cannons, when they're superheated, when they touch the surface of the water, they'd flash, boil the surface, and make a big pocket of steam. You could bounce them across the surface like a skipping stone when they were hot like that. So they'd shoot these cannonballs right parallel with the water line. The goal was to skip it across the water and lodge it right inside the ship. They'd only pack these cannons with about half charge of gunpowder because you didn't want your cannonball blasted inside and out the other. You wanted it to stick in the middle and smolder and burn that ship to the water line. And remember, these ships had cannons too. Cannons require gunpowder, and they require a gunpowder magazine. To get the powder magazine, these little ships basically midship at the waterline, right where they were firing these glowing red hot cannonballs. Boom!
Check out that moat going around Fort Jefferson. That whole courtyard is 8 acres. It's quite a big courtyard. That would shoot one big cannonball. It would go right through this building and shot at it. I'll take your picture right there. Great. Need to get our Dry Tortugas Park pass. Stamp it in your book, and we're ready to go. There's a tiny little visitor center in the fort. You can get postcards, some little memorabilia, and get your passport stamp. Wow. I can't believe how close he's letting us get to him. Think he's injured?
Or he's flying out like a
Trying
criminal would do?
Yeah, I think so. But look at his tail feathers on one side. He's shorter than the other side.
You okay, buddy? You're so pretty.
We were provided a nice lunch at the picnic tables right outside the Sally Port. There is primitive camping on Tortuga, so if that's the way you want to go, come on out, pitch a tent, and stay the night. The water out here is beautiful. Now, we didn't do any snorkeling today because it was too stirred up and the water was unclear. Here we are, Fort Jefferson, beautiful Florida water. Happy SLR care.
And you made it. You saw it coming up over the horizon. It looked pretty darn big, but you got to admit it looks bigger in here. This fort is massive. This fort's got about 8 acres here in the parade ground. There's nothing here on this island to build a fort out of, except for some sand and coral that they used as fill. The rest of it was brought here. Ponce de Leon found out that these islands were pretty darn important. First thing he found on these islands, pulled over to Loggerhead Key, and he found about 160 sea turtles. It was so important that when he charted these islands, he wrote a note on them. He wrote Las Tortugas. That's Spanish for turtles. Napoleon Bonaparte sold us the Louisiana Purchase for $11.5 million. And when we paid him, we basically doubled the size of our country overnight. So all of American shipping is coming right through here, and it's a little narrow geographic pinch point. It's a very strategic little 100-mile strip of water that's very easy to blockade. The first thing we built was a lighthouse to mark that natural harbor that was important to all our sailors and the end of the barrier reef system, so we knew where it was safe to head north into the Gulf or turn around east if you're going back to the East Coast. So we needed to build a fort down here that was big enough, powerful enough, strong enough that it would not need reinforcements. Fort Jefferson was designed to have 420 cannons in it. It was designed to be self-sufficient to the point that it could stand and withstand siege up to 1 year. All you had to do is wait for a hurricane to blow those boats to bits and you're back in business. So that's why they built this giant fort at such a large scale. So much more ambitious than any of the other fortifications of its time, and they plunked it on this tiny little island here in the middle of nowhere.